Okay, are you still there? Are you still there? We begin the after the break. We begin the second session. Okay, okay. We just wait for people to come in. Okay, and we will begin with the second session. The second session will be on pain, bitterness, and fragmented to pieces and becoming whole again, a new beginning. So, para makita naman na hindi lahat beds of roses, you see, my journey. So, okay. 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 Beginning. You're there. You're present, or there are still people still having their break? Okay. We just watch. Jean still not there. Joe, you are not there yet? Tony Toto, okay. And Tony Sunny, you are there?
Yes po.
Okay, we begin. We begin as I said, the second session will be based on painful experiences, experiences of bitterness, and experience also of fragmentations, but at the same times of being whole again. So we begin with now. I told myself as a young priest after a year and a half doing some pastoral work in Takurung as well as in Mitsayap. So what am I doing here in Mitsayap? You see, the all good people, Christian people in Mitsayap. What I've been doing here, I'm supposed to be working with the Muslims, and what I've been doing in Takurung. So I decided that I told my superior I better work with the Muslim because I'm supposed to be working with the Muslim. I prepared myself to work with the Muslims. I'm not working with the Muslim. So I told them, can I go to Dulawan and work in Dulawan? That is Dato Piang. That will be 98% Muslim and 2% Christian. But at that time, there were only about 50 Muslim and 50 Christian families in the whole municipality. So I told them that, oh, I have nothing to do there about Christianity. That's good for me because or else I'll be involved in the whole sacramental work, you see. So my real life is living with them, just being with them, being friends with the Muslim. And that reminds me of the Dominican in Afghanistan, a small booklet, by the way, Jean. And the book is on bread and salt. Pan and sal, no? Better take it. I think there's an English translation of that. That his whole life, you see, this Dominican, crazy Dominican, you see, in Afghanistan, living there in Kabul, and in his house, his only ministry is to share his bread and his salt, you see. So I was telling myself, oh, I've gone there, you see, just sharing life, and perhaps the few Christian there will be just to sustain me, just to keep my faith, Christian faith, but nevertheless, you see, my whole life will be with the Muslim. That's why that has been the characteristic of my work in Datupiang, because after me, the priest there will be working among the Christians and they have nothing to do with the Muslims. So it was the reverse during my time. So I stayed 10 years there, you see, and just doing nothing, you see, just being befriended with a Muslim. And but that will be afterwards. But I'm going to share the pain and the bitterness, because there will be some echoes in our contemporary period now, particularly in the shaping of our Christian spirituality. So I was very enthusiastic going to Dolawan. I have all kinds of plans. Young people have all plans, you see. We are planning what will be the first step, second step, third step, in the realization of our vision mission in Datupiang with the Merino sisters at that time. We were sitting. So I went there to Dulawan in May of 1976. So May 1976, I went to Dulawan. Oh, actually, last week of April, I was there. So I went around different barangays of Datupiang, even during the time of trouble. And as a matter of fact, already they told me, siguro, father is sympathetic to the MNLF because soldiers cannot go around the towns. I still managed to go by the river and to visit the different towns with the students of Notre Dame, of Datupiang. And I was so enthusiastic. I told myself I study Maguindanao. in order to be one with them and to speak the language. And then I will work with them in the center, that is the Community Extension Center. So that plan, everything is planned. Then something happened July 14, 9 o'clock in the morning, 1976. We were planning in the clinic for our community extension, planning for how to realize the vision, and we heard a big explosion. Big explosion, you see, unheard of. My first time to hear such a big explosion, you see. And then all the students were running, no, they're all stampeding, see, running away from the school and all shouting with all shrieking. So immediately when I heard that, 9 o'clock, uh, I went and ran to the classroom because there were two grenades thrown into two classrooms, second year high school. One was a dud, the other one exploded. That is section A of second year high school. So when I entered the classroom, there was still the smoke, the grenade explosion. And so the body sprawled in the classroom that forever I will remember, etched forever in my heart and in my memory. There were about over 30 of them wounded, and there were 70 who died on the spot. And I carried one immediately to rush him to the clinic. His name is Abdurrahman Tungau. And I carried him immediately. I was still a strong man. I can carry some second year high school. And he died in my arm because I was moving to the clinic and somebody told me he's dead. He died in my arm. So I was full of blood, you see. So I'm not thinking about that. So I just laid down the body there and take another body and to rush him to the clinic nearby. Then when everything settled, Sister Patricia and myself were going looking for the parents of Abdul Rahman Tungau. So we met him by near the municipality of Datupiang. And I told him, Bapa, your son died in the bomb. And I was still speaking when the mother came. And instead of embracing the father, embraced the feet of the father and wailing, you see, for the death of the son. And the father, I still remember, said that God has given, God has taken away. I told myself, oh, that is the prayer of Job, you see. So even at that time, I remember, you see, the surrender to the inscrutable will of God, you see, the death of your son. So I was so struck by it. And then that's it. You see, the thing had not dawned on me because we still have to rush the wounded to different clinics. We have to bury the dead. One Christian I buried was Samuel Chu. I remember the two because I dedicated my first book in memory of Abdurrahman Tungau and Samuel Chu. Both of them I buried. The victims of this explosion in Notre Dame of the Lawan. So, but all of them were so terrified. So I was trying to be strong and to go back to normalcy after the bombing because that was the opening of classes. So I told sisters, no, we have to go back to normalcy. You see, Tracy June Mercado, no, though painful and everything, said we can go back to normalcy. I was trying to hide my fear, my ambiguity, everything. You see, we have to go back to. So the students who reported the following day, I told them we have to fence the school. So in the morning, they're all working fencing the school. Then nobody reported in the afternoon. I told them why. They told me anyone who helped in the fencing of the school will find their heads stuck in every post of defense behind them. Oh, they're all afraid. They're all afraid. So with all those, and they told me there are still more bombs behind under the school. The teachers were having high fever, you see, high fever. I never realized that fear can create that kind of high fever, vomiting also. And of course, I was so afraid myself, you see, but not showing it. You see, I was trembling also at night. I was all alone. And I thought some oblates will visit me during this time of trouble, but nobody visited me. So all the Carmel, the Merino sisters also went to Cotabato, except for Sister Joan Cordis. So John Cordis and I, in the morning, we will compare notes. I said I wasn't able to sleep. I was just reciting the rosary over and over again because we're all afraid, you see. Living in fear, living in horror, you see. And then you're all alone, you see. And you rely only in God, you see. I was keep on repeating myself, God, do not call your child into judgment, you see. You're not ready to go and face, you see, God in his judgment, you see. But that's a young man full of idealism, full of zeal, planning to work with the Muslims. And then I told myself, why? The question, why? Why bomb the school? And many of the commanders of Moro and National Liberation were graduates of Notre Dame of Dulawan and graduates of Notre Dame University. And I keep on asking, why? We dialogue with all the commanders after the explosion. Why? They said that because they have to recruit young Moro for the struggle. I cannot understand, you see. Many people do not understand. Uh, I cannot understand the horror and the tragedies. Something similar that we cannot understand the horror and the tragedies of the Vicariate of Sulu with all the killings, you see. I was telling myself the death of Abdul Rahman and Samuel Chu, I was preaching at their funeral that we will go for justice, you see. But we know pretty well that no justice, you see, can be done. In our case, it is really burying your dead. You bury your dead. You lick your wounds, you see, we lick our wounds. And then we just muster really faith and hope uh, to stand, you see, and pick up the pieces and move forward. So, but to me, is that very painful and very traumatic. As a matter of fact, it's only towards the later on that I discovered that I suffered this post-traumatic syndrome, ano, psychological syndrome, because since we closed the school, they decided to. The Merino also decided to close. I thought I will work with the social action of Bishop Nepomuceno and cover Dulawan on weekend. But Father Ante assigned me to be the pastor of Dulawan, of Kabakan. And what I did was to lock in a closet all my experiences in Dulawan, stock, lock, and barrel, and put it under the chest, you see, and never to resurrect it. But every mention of Dulawan was very painful. Every mention of Muslim is very painful to me. Just but remaining silent because I have decided to hold them in a high esteem, not understanding, but not also giving in to the temptation of bigotry and prejudices, but remaining silent. As I said myself, I lock all my experiences with them in a closet, stuck, lock, and barrel, never to reopen again because it's a very painful one. So because of that, in Dulawan, I got involved in activism. So I become, of course, associated to the politics of the left. Tuloy sabi nila nung since Father June talaga controversial na tao yan eh. Dati, ano siya, una, nung bata siya, kala nila ako'y komunista, puro ideological lang, politics of the left. Tapos ngayon, nagiging ISIS na raw ako, no? But actually, I'm moving forward, you see, but I'm also wounded and suffered psychologically. But anyway, I became so hot, and then there were several attempts in my life. Then finally, they told me to take a breather and to go in exile and study also, since I'm also interested in Islam, when I complete and study the study of Islam. There I met the Dominicans in Cairo. So the best place for me to go and to research will be the Institute of the Dominicans in Cairo, as well as the PSI in Rome. So were the two centers that really trained me, including the Gregorian that trained me in the study of my Islam. So that's why I owe the depth of my knowledge to the Dominicans, to the White Fathers, and of course to the Jesuits, the Gregorians. So these are the three who contributed in my knowledge of Islam. I can, of course, enumerate their name. I've mentioned the two Dominicans but actually there are more than two. Father Anawati and Father Jomie, but I can mention also Father Plati, still alive, and Father Cotabarria, who is dead now, Angel. I used to visit him in Madrid. And also Father Sanz, who was the prior of the Dominicans in Cairo. But I have to mention also my Jesuit mentors. That will be Father Crolius. And similarly also my mentor in Islamic mysticism is Father Sokolovsky, a Russian mystic himself. So the two masters that contributed in my knowledge of Islam, the Gregorian. And then the PSA also, I want to honor my mentor. Of course, he became Archbishop Michael Fitzgerald, and now Cardinal, you see. Actually, we are very close. When I was appointed, Ramon was our provincial. He told me to, oh yes, go ahead. When in the peace process of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, the Vatican liked it very much. So Cornelius Fitzgerald was then the prefect of the Secretariat for Non-Christian Interreligious Dialogue. He became a close friend and mentor. And similarly also Father Borman, so see the two white fathers that I can be proud of, that really contributed a lot in my knowledge of Islam. So the Dominicans, the Jesuit, and the White Fathers, you see. So we continue. So as I said, I lack everything. Now I studied Islam in depth, but the painful one was that when I came back to the Philippines already, where will I go? So the provincial told me, June, you have to go back to Dato Piang. You go to Dulawan. So, oh my God, go. I don't even mention the word Dulawan. You see, it's all locked in a closet, lock, stock, and barrel. You see, then so oh my God, I don't know what to do. I didn't know how to react. So that very night, I went to the community of the Merino sisters, and then I told them the news that the provincial asking me to go back to Datupiang, to Dulawan, and I don't know what to do. You know, Sister Patricia, who became very close to me and became very close friend, and because both of us cried when we left Datupiang, and she volunteered and told me, Father John, do not be afraid. I will accompany you. I'll be with you in going back to Dalawan. You see, that's why I owe a lot to Sister Patricia. As a matter of fact, every time I'm in New York, I go to the Marinos simply to visit the tomb of Sister Patricia Marie and to offer prayers to Sister Patricia. So to me, it is a very, perhaps the design of God to go back to Dalawan. Why? Because I have to reopen the closet and then to really grasp, face uh, that horrifying experience and trauma in my life, and that haunt me. So I went there with Sister Patricia. The school were already under the obelisk of Notre Dame, and the director there was Sister Rita Marie and the community. So they were very good also and helped me also. But it's there that I am able to pick up all the pieces that were broken in that Tupiang and make whole again. So it's a very good experience, and perhaps in shaping a spirituality, we know that we will face bitterness experience and traumatic experiences. And this all will happen, you see. Negative experiences will be part of our life, part of our journey. Fall will be part of our journey. Several times we will fall. It doesn't matter how many times we fall. But what is important, perhaps, is that we are accompanied by people to gather the pieces and begin anew. And it is a very refreshing experience on my part, on my return to the Lawan, that I'm able to open, you see, that closet and bring out that skeleton, you see, and face that skeleton, you see, that I can no longer put that in the closet, lock, stock, and barrel, and make my venture into that new relationship with Muslims, venture a new relationship with Islam. By the way, the second time around is really sweet and good, you see. So this is the second time around after passing through that painful, bitter experiences of death and bomb and all conflicts and struggle. So going back to Datupiang, it was sweet and good. I am whole again. You see, that contributed to my wholeness. That's why I can tell again that story of my experiences in Datupiang because the people there, I find them to be very resilient. That notwithstanding all the experiences and pain and conflict and deaths and massacre, they can they can stand up and begin anew. Why can't I? You see, I see many people who are scarred by war with no bitterness, no bitterness. You see, people are very bitter. You see, and the bitter memories. You see, that's why remembering is so bitter and so painful. But there is a remembering that is sweet when you are able to forgive and reconcile with your past. So, and I was able to do that to reconcile with that painful experience. And because of that, the remembrance is no longer with pang, with bitterness. So I told myself, perhaps that is a good element of spirituality, a Christian spirituality working within the context of Islam. Because in that journey, we will be able to, in that journey, we will meet these negative experiences, this bitterness. And what is important is being able to rise up, pick up the pieces. Of course, the Christian, of course, mantra will be to forgive. So not to forget, not to forgive. So that, but why not to forget? Because remembering is very important, you see. But when you forgive, the remembering is no longer bitter and painful, like myself, you see. It is reliving it in a new way, seeing it in a new way. So that is precisely perhaps the spirituality that we need for workers uh, working among the Muslims, whether in the Archdiocese of Cotabato, or whether in the archipelago of Sulu, or whether in Sahara, where the obelisk are, or where we are in minority, like in Indonesia, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, wherein we are able to remember all this bitterness, but at the same time, because we are able to forgive, we are able to rise up and pick up the pieces and begin anew. So to me, that is very important, at least element in shaping and developing that Christian spirituality living among Muslims. And before concluding and allowing you also some question is that what is important, it is my sojourn in Egypt is very crucial to me also. Not only because knowing the Dominicans there, Anawati and Jomie, the giants in the study of Islam, the giants in the Orientalists, but through them I was able to come in touch with the Badaliyya movement in Egypt. The Badaliyya was started by Father Louis Massignon, following the footsteps of Blessed Charles de Foucault, but of course, following the example of Francis of Assisi. But that will be moving towards the another session of Badaliyya, perhaps next month, when we will begin with the Badaliyya spirituality. That is the Christian spirituality in the midst of Islam, and that will be on Badaliyya. So what is important is that, as I said, this second part, this second session of today will be the facing up. We're going to escape bitterness. We're going to escape negative experiences. We're going to escape being scarred working with the Muslim. Because many people are afraid. And many, because of they're afraid, they're not able to venture. So have no fear. Even you venture and you are wounded, there is healing. And not only healing, but when you are broken into pieces, you see, there is also the gathering and becoming whole again. At least in my experience, you see, concrete experiences, this will be the characteristic of my journey when I was fragmented into pieces. I was able, though after so many years, to rise up and pick up the pieces and become whole again. And this has taught me that in trying to propagate the Badalay spirituality, that notwithstanding bitterness and trauma, you see, we should not be deterred, you see. And we should ask for the grace and strength to gather again and to begin anew. We cannot do it alone. I did not do it alone because I was afraid also. As I said, the people who marked my journey, who assisted me to pick up the pieces. And this is precisely what is important in spirituality, work among the Muslims, the role of fellowship, kindredness of spirit, and of course, in the language of left politics, that having your comrade, you see, by your side, you see, or behind you or in front of you, you see, and and helping you to gather the pieces and become whole again. So I will conclude the lecture for September with that particular positive thing, and hopefully next Friday, first Friday in October, we will begin the whole Badaliyya and introduction to the Christian spirituality in the context of Islam. Do you have any question? We start with people here. Walang question. Walang question. Baka dito sa ating mga kabataan. Okay. No question. Did you understand or don't understand also? At least that is something very personal. Kayo ho, meron kayong tanong dyan? Do you have any question? People there? Jean, do you have any question?
Father, yung
Badaliyya, yes, Joe. Who's speaking?
Badaliyya spirituality, Father.
Yes, yes, Joe.
Joe.
Yes, Joe.
So I'm from Batasan. I'm here. Marami pong mga Muslim dito. Father, Badaliyya is what term is that po?
Badal is the Arabic word for substitution or ransom.
Badal.
Badal. And Badaliyya is that movement of being completing what is lacking in your partner and filling up what is inadequate to become to fulfill that and become a ransom. And the best example of that will be Jesus Christ on the cross, who died as a ransom for our sins. You see, not being messianic, but being able to offer yourself to have a better, good relationship between Muslim and Christians, to carry the wounds, you see, in your body, the wounds of conflict, the wounds of struggle, the wounds of oppression, and the wounds of injustice, and you remedy it, you see, and you bury it in your body. Okay, like Jesus. That is Badaliyya, Joe. Okay. Anybody?
Somewhat psycho-spiritual, Father.
yeah, okay. Standing in behalf. So, okay. Who would like to ask question? Attorney Beatrix, do you have any question?
None, Father, but former Commissioner Buenaflor brought me to a graveyard in OMI. There were priests beheaded there.
Beheaded, napatay.
Hindi naman po
murdered, massacred. Not massacred, killed. Ang beheaded si Father Ruel, okay.
Okay. So nakita ko po kasi may mga nakalagay doon yung how they died. So parang, is it because of, well, I presume it's because of the conflict?
Yes. For example, the recent one, that is Bishop Ben De Jesus, as well as Father Ray Roda and Father Benji Inocencio. They believe that this will be a product of a new extremist, the terrorists. Now they call them terrorists. They were killed. So I consider them martyrs because they profess Islam. They profess religion of Christianity outside of that Islam because they want to have Islamic context, and so that's it, you know. So they were at least in the understanding of the Oblates of Mary Immaculate that they died because of their belief, because of their faith. So similarly, also the martyrs in Basilan, that is Father Ruel, Clarician, and the martyrs also in Lanao del Sur, that is Father Rufus, a Colomban. So I'm gathering up to the narratives of all these martyrs in the southern Philippines. because I taught spirituality, Islamic spirituality at the Institute of Spirituality in Asia. So part of my lecture will be the martyrs, including the Father Carceda in Zamboanga. There are a list of martyrs in the southern Philippines. We have 3 or 4, including Father Habeliana, martyrs among the Oblates of Mary Immaculate. Yes, Beatrix. And Sunny, you just came in. How are you?
I'm good, Father. Bishop Noli was here with me early on, listening to you.
Bishop Noli, how is he now?
He just left.
I owe
Yeah.
him. I still have to. I'm reading his paper, his doctoral dissertation. Sabi mo, maganda naman eh. Okay na ho. Oo. I read the chapter 1 and chapter 2, but there's still remaining chapters that I have to read. But I don't know. But I don't know how to do it. When will he submit his doctoral thesis, his dissertation for doctoral for the Sani?
I don't know as of yet what the arrangements will be.
Okay. So my best regards to Bishop Noli. So okay. Alam, napakabait ng bishop na yun. Ang estudyante ko, naiilang, napakabait. Oo.
We're together here.
Ha?
Kasama kami sa parish.
Di ba napakabait ho niyan? Dalawang bishop na napakabait na, at 3 palang bishop na na-experience ko, napakabait. Sobra bait. Of course, si Bishop Benjamin De Jesus na namatay naging martyr. The other one is, of course, Bishop Ong Choco. Classmate ko si Bishop Ong Choco eh. Pero nung kami si Mendesa, tinutokso ko siya kasi I'm the naughty boy. He was the good boy. And sabi ko talaga, bata ko, obispuhon ka pa. No? Naging obispo nga ako, obispuhon eh. No? And then the third one is Bishop Noli. Talagang napakabait. Sobra bait ho. Okay. Saludo ko sa kanya. Okay. Father, why are you interested in the spirituality in the midst of Islam, Father Sani?
I'm sorry, Father?
You are interested in developing a Christian spirituality in the context of Islam. Why are you interested?
Well, that's a reality, Father, that we are living in the same world and we do have to coexist. And with all honesty, I also have my prejudices, Father, and I have to understand better.
Okay. Okay. And Jean, let's go to hear this Dominican Jean, because this Jean is named after our founder, but his first name is named after the founder of the Dominican. So Dominic Eugene. Okay, Jean.
Father, I'm just interested because as Father Sani have mentioned, most of us who are born Christians have our own biases on how we look at the Muslim community. Now, Father, how do we begin to have that dialogue of life with them, and how do we do that in such a way that we do not forget the very basics of our faith, and how do we remain faithful to what the gospel preaches in the face of that dialogue, Father?
Okay, that's good. I'm happy to, besides practicing your French with me, but I'm happy to welcome you in this class. So, bienvenue, mon frère Eugene. Okay.
Merci, merci.
Okay. Si Atty. Toto, merong daughter-in-law Muslim. Okay, ano ho ang parang bring home mo after this initial spirituality ho? Sige, Atty. Toto.
Good afternoon. Yes, Father. Yun nga, I was telling you earlier that I am a Catholic. My wife is UCCP, and apparently my eldest son got married with a Muslim, and now I have a grandson who is Muslim. So whenever they're here every weekend, so at least I have my own idea, and like other attendees also, it cannot be avoided that we have this some sort of prejudice and ganun pong mga thinking. And besides, I've been also in some places. I lived in Davao, in Surigao, and everything, and now I'm in Makati. So at least I have this idea of how would the deeper understanding of Islam also.
Okay. Father James, you just entered in the discussion. I've completed. But anyway, it is recorded. I can send you the lecture, lecture 1 and lecture 2. Okay? Kumusta
Yes,
kayo, Father James? You are from where?
I'm from the Diocese of Surigao.
Diocese of Surigao.
I
Okay.
am here now assigned in Siargao temporarily, but I'm the chancellor of the diocese.
Okay. Okay.
I'm also taking Masters of Law, Masters of Legal Studies in San Beda.
One of the chancellors.
Thank you for allowing me to enter the group.
Oh, one of your chancellors also, I think, my student also in San Beda. But anyway, it's good. Welcome, Father. Every first Friday. So September, usually from 3 to 5. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Father.
you.
Attorney Ting, you're interested in Islamic spirit, in Christian spirituality in the context of Islam. Can you say anything? Something?
Uh, Good afternoon, Father, and everyone. Yes, I am very much interested in having more knowledge about the Islamic faith because it has been part of Philippine history, and also in accepting the MILF together with the BARM. I am hoping that Filipinos would be more acceptable of embracing the Muslim faith as brothers and sisters to finally put an end to all of these prejudice that we have with our fellow Muslims.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, would you like to say something? John, perhaps you can unmute yourself, John. Yes, you are in San Beda also, John? Jonathan, is that Jonathan? Go ahead.
Ako, Father.
Yes, ikaw.
I'm Brother Aljon Yonder, a Marist.
You are married. Oh, ikaw pala hindi ko na nakilala. Si Barok pala to. Okay. So, you are assigned in Malaysia now, isn't it?
Opo, pero in the process pa lang po. Kasi binan po nila yung entry ng mga Filipinos, Indian and Indonesian sa Malaysia.
Oh, where are you
So
now?
I'm stuck here in Marbel.
You were banned because we're claiming North Borneo. Is that the reason?
No, because of the increasing COVID positives here in
Akala
our
ko because
country.
you're entering the territory of the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo.
No.
Sultan is a good friend of mine who is in Kiramtan. Oh, but anyway, so it's not for that, it's the pandemic. Okay.
Yes po.
Johns, okay, good to see you. I did not recognize you. Attorney Jacobe, you have something to add? Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, Father. As I was saying kanina, I was studying my first year in Mindanao State University in Marawi City.
Yes, yeah.
And in fact, I was part of the Kadait Committee of the church, the Catholic Church.
Oh, okay.
We were in constant dialogue with the Maranaos in Marawi before,
okay.
but that endeavor was cut short because I transferred to Silliman University.
Okay.
So I have this burning desire to learn more about Islam because that endeavor was cut short when I transferred to Silliman.
Okay, it's good you enrolled in my class in San Beda, so now you will fulfill your dream. Okay. Sunny, would you like to say something? I don't see your picture also. Your camera is not on. Okay.
Unmute myself. All right.
Again, ulit.
Because there were other priests that were also eavesdropping, so we have to concede our video now. There were lots of
interested in Islam, Father Sunny, or what?
Yeah, basically, Father. I mean, of course, I have also lineage in the family, way down the descendants from Mindanao. So my great grandmother was a putri. So
putri, okay. You're a royalty, Father Sunny.
So in a way, you see, and along the way, of course, because of the Chinese tradition that our family embraced on, and the evangelization of Christianity in the family, so we were more inclined to Buddhism and the Christianity. So, and a bit, kind of, in a way, should we say how, in a more political manner, reserved with regard to the Islamic part of, our history. So, in that, you see, given this opportunity, that I became a priest along the way, and then I also was able to travel to some parts of the world with my family. So we do have our continued, you see, fear of going to these places, mingling with these people, although we had several visitors also who were able to show us of their kind of, you know, uh, good attitude, but then it is not, we cannot help, Father, we cannot help but, you know, be overwhelmed with fear,
Right.
be overwhelmed. So, and you know, I've been escorting also groups to the Holy Land, and it seems that you see every time that we are in these places, so there are really, you know, an overwhelming fear that would sometimes prevent us from exploring places and exploring friendship at that with these people. And there's always, let's say, a boundary that one step forward might, you know, break something, or something wrong. But when, you know, this course that you're trying to, you know, to share to us, this would be helpful for us to better understand. As I've said, for myself first, before I can actually share it to others, I have to conquer that within myself. I have to understand what's, you know, why, where it is coming from, and why should I fear, or is there something to fear? So things like this.
Okay, Father, you should enroll in some beta. Anyway, Father, I will give Father Mon Bernabe, our Assistant General, the last word before we conclude. Father Mon is a Baruch of mine, favorite. He nurtured me and nursed me also to health in my second and third life. Father Mon, the last word is for you.
Yeah, thank you, June. I think Eugene also asked a question earlier about how do we embark on this journey of overcoming prejudice and bias. And I think I'd like to respond to that question of Eugene by saying that from what Father June had shared with us in this session, it's from living with Muslims, you know, that we overcome bias and prejudice. Sometimes understanding is really difficult to come and to overcome, but by living with them concretely, then we are able to overcome biases and prejudices. Fear is also something that prevents us from having a positive view of the other, and therefore fear is only overcome by actually living or having an experience with other cultures and peoples. Sometimes fear is imaginary, and therefore we let the fear dictate to us what we think and what we feel towards another group of people. Like Father June, I'm also from Luzon, and making the journey from Luzon to Cotabato as a young seminarian, and then making the journey from Cotabato to Sulu as a young missionary also changed my own perspective in life, no? And in viewing the Muslims. And so I believe it's living concretely with Muslims that can offer us the opportunity to change our mindsets, our biases. And as the gospel today says, you know, new wineskins, new wine deserves new wineskins. We have to leave the old in favor of the new. Some people still live by the old spirituality, for example, because as the gospel says, when somebody has tasted the old wine, the old is good, and therefore they prefer the old good wine rather than trying new mindsets and new ways of dealing and approaching with other people. So that's my response to Eugene, Jun.
So we're very happy for the active participation of Father Mon. He's in charge of the mission besides being Assistant General. So thank you very much, Mon, for being here. By the way, I thank also the missionaries of Oblates Missionary in Sahara. So they will listen also in the tape, and they say they would like to do that. And I told them, I'm telling you now, I'm telling them, we will have this every first Friday of the month. So, and beginning 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we hope to have an interaction not only here through Zoom, but also there are people here in the room. So we can have a real discussion on that, developing a spirituality in the context of Islam. As I said, it is the spirituality, developing that rather than the study. On the way, we will study Islam because we cannot help it, but really explain it also. At least that converge with us. Okay? Maraming salamat ho sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much for being present, for attending this conference. And I thank also the people here, our novices, the OND Sister, the Sister Estrella, former General of the OND, and then the renewalists also. So together, we hope to continue the tradition, as I said, begun by Charles de Foucault and Father Louis Massignon, of establishing that fellowship and becoming also a substitute for one another and become partners in dialogue. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. God bless you all. And we conclude this session with the recitation of our Father. Together, love. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I give you my blessing. The Lord be with you,
and with your spirit.
Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit stand upon you and remain with you forever. Amen. Peace.
Amen.
God bless. No recording. Oh, John, na-miss na kita. Okay, wala na yung ating